For this exercise, before we get started, make sure you've downloaded the appropriate zip file for the book that you're going to be laying out. When you uncompress this book file, inside you'll find the text file that has the complete layout of the entire text for your book, and it also has a folder with several images that you can use whenever you do your layout. Just know that some of these images are a little bit low quality and some may be in color, but your final book is going to be printed in black and white. You can use any of these that you choose, or if you choose not to, you can not use some of them. But I do want you to use some in your final layout. Also, before we get started, make sure you've completed the options exercise that gives you a variety of ways of laying out your chapters, your body copy, your runners, and even your margins for each of your texts. Having this done first will make it much easier to determine the layout of your overall book before we get started. To get started on the layout, with your options open, we need to pick and choose the different options for your page layout that you liked. Keep in mind that you should have printed these off so that you get a good idea of what it looks like once your final book is printed. Also, if you like options from multiple different choices, you can pick and choose the different parts that you like. Let's say, for instance, I like the body copy from this one, but I like the runners and headers from another copy. It's okay to pick and choose multiple different things. What we want to do is to save up paragraph styles and all of the information to go along with our book's layout. So to save these paragraph styles, open up your paragraph styles panel, and I like the body copy for this layout. So I'm going to select all of this just for one particular paragraph. Create a new paragraph style, and I can double click on it, and let's call this body copy. Now I can quickly and easily format all of my body copy to fit that style. Additionally, if you have other styles, so for instance, I like the way that the first drop cap was for this one, I can save this up as a style as well. So selecting that, create a new paragraph style, and then give it an appropriate name. In my case, since this is my first paragraph, that's what I'll call it. Other kind of paragraph styles that you may want to save would include things that you've done to your chapter titles. So for instance, the name of my chapter, I want it to start off and be formatted this way. So I'll highlight that text, create a new style. I'll call this my chapter title. And for my numbers, I've done some special formatting. In this case, I've placed the number inside of its own text box. So I'm going to highlight my number and save a new title number for this one. So this will be chapter number. Repeat this process for anything else that you want to save as a style. Just remember, paragraph styles save up the styling for all of an entire paragraph. If you've got something special, say for one unique character, you can highlight that character and do the same thing but under your character styles. Saving that will allow you to change the format of just one character. In this case, I don't have any for mine, but you may have some for yours. Another thing that I did not save a style as is for my runners. I like the styling of these, but I'm not going to save it as a paragraph style. Later on, you'll see me copy these directly over. The final thing that I may need to make mention of is my margins that I have. Find the style that you like for your margins, selecting those pages, go up to Layout, Margins and Columns, and make note of your top and bottom, inside and outside. When we set up the full document for our final book, we'll need to know these to get started. I'll hit cancel now that I've got them written down. I'll save up what I have, File. I'm going to do a Save As and save mine to my desktop so I can quickly and easily find it. Now we can minimize this. Let's go up to InDesign and create a new document. And this new document is what we're going to lay out our final book in. Now the size and formatting for your book is going to depend on who the printer is going to be. For this project, the width of our book is going to be in 6 inches and the height is going to be 9 inches. Make sure Facing Pages is turned on, and we'll keep it at 1 page for now. Also, make sure your primary text frame is checked on. This will automatically add a text frame inside of your margins. We can keep our columns set to 1, and it really doesn't matter about the gutter. But for the margins, go ahead and set up your top, bottom, inside, and outside to be the margins that you've chosen for your option. Additionally, under your bleed and slug, you can give yourself a 0.125, an eighth of an inch bleed on all sides. We won't need anything for the slug. When you say create, this will give us our new blank document that we can start working from. Before we import any of our text, the first thing we need to do is to import our paragraph styles that we had saved. So in your paragraph styles panel, click on the little options at the top and choose Load Paragraph Styles. From here, locate your Options InDesign file that we had all of those styles saved as. With that selected, when you say Open, it'll ask what styles we want to import, and this is where I can get all of my body copy, chapter titles, and numbers. When we say OK, this has imported the styles, and now I can use them for this document as well as the options that I had. The next thing we need to do is to set up our headers or our footers. Whatever's going to be running on all of our pages, we need to do that through our master page. Inside of your Pages panel, I'm going to pull it off so we can see it. Double-click on the master page, the A master page. Remember, this A master page will give you a 2-page spread, and whatever we place inside of here is going to show up on all of our new pages that we have. What I want to do is return to my page layout options, and I'm going to find the runners that I want. Remember, your options could have something at the top and at the bottom, and it can have other decorative elements, whatever you design it. I like the layout for this one, so I'm going to select both of my footers at the bottom, go up to Edit, I'm going to copy them, jump back into here, and then we'll go to Edit and we'll paste them, and I'll place them down here at the very bottom right into place. Move this one over to the side. Also, while we're here, we can set up our automatic page numbering. To do this, let's zoom down to one of the numbers at the bottom. I'm going to grab my Type tool and select this first number. Now right now, I don't want it to say 3, I want it to automatically update to be whatever page number that it's on. So with it highlighted, go up to Type, down to Special Character, and we want to insert a marker of the current page number. Right now it'll be set up as an A because we're on our A master. But we'll go over to the other one. Again, highlight your number, go up to Type, Special Character, and insert a marker for the current page number, and that'll give that an A as well. Whenever we jump back into our normal pages, this will automatically update to whatever page that's automatically there. At this time, if you need to make any adjustments to your margins, remember to change it in the A master page because this will affect all of the pages as well. If you do need to change your margins, you can go up to Layout, Margins and Columns, and change them up from here. Since I set mine up perfectly the first time, I'm not going to have to do that. Any other styling that you want to do for your book's layout, you can do at this time. Once you're finished, double-click on the first page. Notice now that page 1 is showing up right here, and anytime it's going to add new pages, it'll automatically update the page number from that one. With all this done, now let's flow in our text. I'm going to choose my Type tool and click once inside of my margins. Notice that it automatically has a text frame inside of this area, and this is good because it's automatically going to add more text frames as necessary. We'll go up to File, down to Place, and let's locate that text file that was given to you. Mine's inside the folder, and here's the Jane Eyre text. Now if I'm looking at it, this text has a unique problem. If you scroll down, you'll notice that there's double spaces between each of the paragraphs within your document. We need to get rid of these double spaces. In order to do this, we can do it as we import it. So with your text file selected, select Show Import Options, then choose Open. Within these options, we can tell it to remove any extra carriage returns, and we only want to do it between the paragraphs. So have this one checked on and keep Remove at the end of every line checked off. We definitely want to keep those carriage returns. With this one selected, we can say OK, and automatically it'll start to flow in your text through all of the pages. Now this may take a few moments. You can see how auto-flowing text automatically comes up. But once it's finished, all of the text will be added to the appropriate number of pages that are necessary for our book. Let's give it just a second. From here, we can go back to our Pages panel, and we can even start to scroll down and see what it looks like on each of our pages, all nice and evenly laid out. Now remember, if you see any double spaces between your paragraphs, you've imported it incorrectly. So you need to undo, go back, and turn on those import options. Also, looking at our Pages panel, we can scroll to the very bottom, and you can see how it's several hundred pages have automatically been added for you. But we didn't have to do that for ourselves manually. It automatically added the pages and added the footers at the very bottom. Now let's return to the top of our page and start breaking up our text. Back to page 1. The next thing I need to do is to break up my text in the appropriate spot. For instance, on page 1, you can see all of this text is meant to be my chapter or my book introductory pages. Then I've got all of my listings for my table of contents. If I go to the next page, here's chapter 1. And if I keep scrolling down, I can see the beginnings of chapter 2, 3, so on and so forth. I want each of these to have their own separate individual pages. So we need to add page breaks. Let's go back up to chapter 1, or page 1. With my type tool selected, I'm going to place my cursor right where I want to break my text. Now what I don't want to do is simply hit a bunch of returns. Instead, I want to have a page break. With my insertion point right at the beginning of the word, go back up to Type, choose a break character, and we're going to insert a page break. This will automatically break the text and place and start my words right where I want them to be on their own individual page. Let's do the same thing for chapter 1. Again, place your insertion point right at the beginning of the chapter, go up to Type, insert a break character for page break, and that'll break this one and start chapter on the next page. Another thing you may want to do is, rather than having the chapter or whatever page start on the very next page, let's say you want to have it on the right or the left side of the page. For instance, I want my chapters to always begin on my right page, and my right pages are always going to be an odd page. So rather than inserting just another page break, I'm going to go to Type, insert a break character, and I'm going to break it to the next odd page. With that one selected, notice now that it jumps from this page over this page onto this one, and automatically it'll always flow that way. So this comes in handy for being able to place things exactly where I want them to be, and then later on I can go in and update their style. The next thing I can do is quickly find each of my chapters. Since all of mine are indicated by the word chapter, let's do a search for it. Going up to Edit, choose Find and Change, and inside of here, I'm going to find the word chapter. I want to search my entire document, and I'm going to let the case sensitivity be turned on since all of my chapters are in uppercase. Yours may be slightly different. Whenever I do Find Next, now with nothing selected, I may have to go all the way through my table of contents. I'm going to click it several times. But now it hits chapter 1, there's a break. I can find the next one, and automatically it finds chapter 2. I can insert my insertion point. Let's go back up to Type and insert my break, in my case for the odd page break, which puts it over there. I can then find chapter 3. Here's chapter 3 right here. Let's break this to the next odd page. Type, break character, odd page break. Keeping going over and over again for each individual one, we want to be able to break up our chapters and place them on their appropriate page. Take some time to go through all of your chapters, finding the beginning of them and placing them on the pages that you want them to be for your book's layout. The next thing we're going to do is start some of the formatting for the text. The first thing that we want to format are our footers and making sure the page numbers are correct. Right now, if I go back to the beginning of my document, I see that I have page 1 on the very first introductory page. I don't necessarily want this to be page 1. I want my first pages to start where chapter 1 starts. But in this case, it's actually page 5. So I need to be able to reorder and re-page number from this point onward. Here's how to do that. Going into your Pages panel, select the page, in my case page 5, that you want to start your new pages. Just page 5 is now selected. There we go. With that page selected, go up to your page options and let's uncheck Allow Document Pages to Shuffle. With that unchecked, we can now return to our options and choose to change our numbering and section options. Under numbering and section, we're going to start a new page number at page 1 from the current selection. When I say OK, this will give me a warning, but that's OK. Now you can see page 1 starts here, and even in our Pages panel, 1 starts here, 2, 3, 4, all the way down. Additionally, I can go back to my original pages. If I need to remove a page number from any page, all I've got to do is hold down Shift and Command, and when I click on it, it will unlock it from the page number, or excuse me, the master page, and delete it away. And I don't have to necessarily use the numerals, the regular numbers from here. I can change up the styling of this. Let's say I've got page 1 selected. I can go back to my numbering and section options. And for my first pages, I can either delete them away, or let's change up their style to be lowercase Roman numerals. Now when I say OK, these have been changed to the little lowercase Roman numerals, and anytime I add new ones, that can be done from there. So that's kind of a fun, interesting way of formatting those page numbers as you're working through it. The last thing you need to do is return to your page options and make sure you've checked on allowing the document pages to shuffle. With that checked on, anytime we add new pages to here, it'll flow appropriately. If you don't have it checked on, you'll start to get a warning after a while asking you to turn that back on, and it should fix itself. Now we can start formatting our text. With our type tool selected, click once inside of your body copy and do Command A. This will select all of your text. You may get a little spinny wheel and it may take a couple of seconds because it's going through and selecting all of the text on all of the pages. Just be patient and give it just a second to do this. Once it's done, you can scroll through and see how all the text is highlighted. Now, since most of my text is going to be body copy, the first style I want to apply will be body copy. This will automatically swap everything over to that particular set. Again, it may take just a second to do it for yours. Once it's done, you can also look on your Pages panel and determine how many pages it's either added or taken away depending on the style that you have. So mine had nearly 480 something. If I was to scroll at the bottom of this, again, give it a second because it may take a while. Now it's added down to 530. So this definitely makes a difference on the style that I chose. In addition to this, now that I've got my body copy styled, I can go through and start adding my chapter titles. Since I've got my chapter title saved as a paragraph style, I can choose the word chapter title. Remember, if you've got some space before and after, you may be required to add an extra return to move it right into position. Also, since I've done something special with my numbers, I'm going to delete away this number, whoops, and create a new text box and type in the number that I want. Again, applying the style for that chapter number, and then placing it right where I want it to go. So with this, it may take a little bit of time, but go through each of your chapter headings and style them the way you wanted based on the options that you had as well. Do pay attention that if you've used a photograph as the starting point, that you use the appropriate photograph for this area. You don't have to use a photograph, and you can edit these photos if necessary. For mine, I've kept it relatively simple and I've not added a photograph to my chapter titles. Next, I'm going to show you how to add pictures to your overall final layout. But before you add your pictures, giving you fair warning, make sure you've designed everything you need for your chapter titles and your body copy first. Now, the final thing to do, once all of your chapter titles, even your table of contents and your introductory pages, once all of the text has been nice and laid out and finished, the last thing you'll do is to add the photographs to your overall design. Photographs can be a little bit finicky to work with, so here's the best way that I've found to do it for your book. We're going to start by trying to find where to place your images. We don't just want to place any of the images any random spot. You want your photographs to match up with the text in the appropriate area. To do this, let's go back up to Edit and open up your Find and Change options. We're going to search for the word in text. It doesn't have to be case sensitive, but when we find next, you'll notice inside of your text area there's a place that says in text, image, and then gives the name of the image that should go on this page, or at least in this area. So for instance, for this page, P30S JPEG needs to go here. To place the image, I'm going to erase away the text. Then I'm going to deselect my text box. I'm going to place the picture inside of its own text box outside of the page itself. So I'm going to go up to File, and Place, and let's locate those in-text images. The one I'm going to be looking for is P30S. We don't need to turn on the import options, but I'll say OK. Remember, it'll follow your cursor until you click and drag, and it'll place it inside of its own text frame. From here, you can then place your picture anywhere you want inside of your text frame, and be sure to turn on text wrapping so it will wrap around your picture. You can have your images be nice and small and go into a corner of your text. Either corner is best. Or, you can make your pictures much larger and fill up the entire text. With text wrapping turned on, remember your text will automatically flow to the appropriate spot. The other thing to pay attention to is that you can have your images running off the edge of your text, and so that's something to do as well. But I do recommend at least sticking with the margin settings that you have for your particular area. I say to do this last because remember, as you place your images into your text, this is going to shift your pages down, and it may adjust some of the formatting that you've already done. Once you're finished up with your final design, go back through all of your pages and make sure everything is in its appropriate spot and nothing has been changed over from one page to the other, especially for your chapter titles. The last thing that you're going to do once it's finished is to package up your design. To do this, we'll go to File, down to Package. This will step us through everything, collecting our fonts and images. Choose Package. We will save what we have. In my case, I'm going to call it Jane Eyre Book Layout. We won't worry about the printing instructions. Make sure the folder is where you're at. Inside of this folder, of course, we want to copy our fonts, our linked graphics, and any other appropriate things that make up the book, but also include a PDF printed version of this. As far as the size of it goes, make sure it's a high quality print, and we can choose Package. Say OK to the font warning. That package is what you're going to upload once you finish the layout for your entire book design. Don't rush through this. Take some time and look at every individual page, making sure that the text flows correctly, the images are in the right spot, and also your chapter titles look correct as well. Since you've got multiple images, you can continue on searching for in-text images as well, finding all of those. You don't have to use every single one of them, but I do encourage you to use multiple images within your book's layout simply because it'll make your layout much more appealing.